Welcome to December. We made it. 2018 is almost over. It is now that time of year to look over on the year of movies, to see what we have watched, what film have we consumed. But most importantly, what films did we dislike the most? So obviously, with it being December, this is Oscar month. Every good movie is coming out. The problem is, me wanting to make a video of my top 10 movies 2018, chances are there are going to be some movies on that list that I have not seen yet. I'm going to do my best to delay that video as long as possible because there are a lot of movies that I need to see and it's just a stressful month for watching films. So until then, I am going to give you my top 5 least favorite movies of 2018. Now before going into this list, generally I try to stay away from movies that I think I'm going to dislike. For example, Life of the Party. Had a strong feeling I would not like that movie. Same thing with the Happy Time Murder. She's genuinely a lot of Melissa McCarthy movies, but she's really great in Gilmore Girls, so I'm not just really not completely. But there are just certain times where you just have a very strong feeling that you're not gonna like the movie, and that's okay. That being said, this list is obviously the movies that I did unfortunately have to sit through, and I didn't like them. If there are movies that I did miss, please comment below. Chances are I'm not going to watch them, but I would love to hear what you disliked most in 2018. Let's just go ahead and make this the most negative comment thread ever. Number 5. This goes out to Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Having Way Too Long of a Title. So here's my disclaimer. I am not a huge Harry Potter fan at all. I've seen them all, and I generally enjoy them for the most part, but that's about as far as it goes. I am not into the whole universe. I totally respect those who do, and I appreciate those as films. But when I saw the first Fantastic Beasts, I honestly didn't even remember the plot and had to be reminded of it going into this movie. But it didn't even really matter because 2 of the main points that the movie ended on got erased within the first 10 minutes of this movie. Even hearing from diehard Harry Potter fans, it sounds like not a lot of people were pleased with the way that this turned out. For a couple different reasons. The obvious one is if you do a couple Google searches, you can see how the timeline doesn't make any sense. There are a number of things that contradict the original Harry Potter movies, and even though I didn't pick up on that the first time, that's a mistake you should not make while making this type of movie. But even coming from a non-Harry Potter fan, it was hard to follow. The acting was fine, and the special effects were amazing, but the special effects should not be the main draw of this movie. The dialogue was very cheesy, and the people who were supposed to be the main characters had the B plot the entire movie. There were way too many plot twists, and the whole plot in general was just hard to follow and very messy. I don't even know if I want to see the third. I probably will just to see how it ends, but I have no expectation for it being good. Number 4. So this one goes out to the Cloverfield Paradox. So if you can remember back on February 4th, watching the Super Bowl, seeing this trailer for the first time, but not only it's a trailer, it's an announcement that you can watch this movie as soon as the Super Bowl is over. This was one of the biggest stunts Netflix has done, and they were really hoping it paid off, and unfortunately I think it was a flop. So overall, this movie was somewhat entertaining to me, and I didn't entirely just completely hate it, but you could definitely tell they went into this movie not trying to make it a Cloverfield movie and just threw that in last minute. If you weren't aware, that's the same thing they did with 10 Cloverfield Lane, where they were just filming this movie and found out, hey, this could work in the Cloverfield universe, and just added the title and a couple other details to it. But for that one, it worked way better. This one, it's like they didn't even try. I'm pretty sure there are only 2 actual references to Cloverfield in this movie. And what happens within this movie is kind of boring, if I'm being honest. There are a couple cool ideas that are brought up and a couple interesting scenes, I suppose you could say. But for the most part, there's no connection to the rest of the Cloverfield movies that make this worth the watch. But let's be honest, if the Cloverfield name wasn't on it, it would not have gotten watched as many times as it did. Cloverfield and 10 Cloverfield Lane had such a high reputation that any Cloverfield movie following those 2 were going to be watched by so many people. The problem is, after this movie, the name Cloverfield is definitely tarnished a little bit. It's just not gonna mean as much the next time a Cloverfield movie comes out, and they're gonna have to earn the respect back from a lot of fans. Number 3.
It's Megalodon.
The Meg. So this is the only video on this list that I actually have a full review on. So if you want to go check it out and see me rant even more about it, go ahead, watch it. I'd say it's worth a watch. But essentially, the conclusion I came in that review is that this movie tried way too long to try to find its voice, mixing, is this going to be a comedy or a shark action movie, and it never could figure it out. There's one specific scene and a set piece at the very end of this movie where I finally realized, like, okay, I understand what this movie is trying to be, but it took an hour and a half to get to that point. Everything before that was just bad. They didn't commit enough to the gag, so nothing in the movie was funny when it was supposed to be. And it was way too awkward to be taken seriously, like, at all. So once again, there's literally one scene worth watching in this movie, and it's at the end. And then, of course, there's the classic.
It's Megalodon.
Number 2, Pacific Rim Uprising. Confession time, I never saw the first one. The first one kind of flew under my radar. A combination of a movie I didn't think I would enjoy, and also, I don't know, I just never got around to it, I guess. And I really doubt there's much within that movie that would make me enjoy this sequel anymore, because objectively speaking, this was not a well done movie. Now, if you're a sucker for giant robots fighting, I guess, sea monsters, I don't even know what they are, then sure, this movie would probably be enjoyable, but I'm guessing you also like every single one of the Transformers more than just the first one. And if that's the case, then we just have different opinions on what a good movie is, which is fine. But since this is my video, this opinion is that I did not like Pacific Rim Uprising. I really don't even know what else to say about it. It was exactly what you would expect from that type of movie. CG and special effects were very cool to watch. Dialogue, not good. Story, not interesting. Honestly, it's even hard for me to come up with any more commentary about this movie because it is so out of my mind. Before we get to my least favorite movie of 2018, I got a couple honorable mentions for you. First one is Tab. Overall, this movie had a decent cast, but unfortunately, I think I only laughed about 2 times in this movie. I did at least somewhat enjoy this movie, mostly for Hannibal Buress. That guy is a gem, but I just think if it's going to be a comedy, I need to laugh for it. Next honorable mention is The Nun. So The Nun was probably just as scary as Tag was funny. Not very scary. This movie was essentially a bunch of jump scares and scary imagery, at least I'm sure they thought so when they made it. But I am a sucker for the entire Conjuring universe, and the tie into the rest of them at the end of this movie was done so nicely that I'm going to give this one a pass for being a terrible movie. Alright, the number 1 worst movie that I saw in 2018. 1510 to Paris. So if you remember, this is a true story about 3 American heroes who are traveling throughout Europe on a train to Paris, and they stop a terrorist bomb. And so here comes the fun idea. We're gonna make a movie about that, with the actual people starring themselves. Now let me just say, those guys are heroes. What they did was incredible. That being said, they're not very good actors. It also doesn't help that there's not too much of a movie to tell about this event. The entire event happens probably within 2-3 minutes. And the rest of the movie is just leading up until that point, but there's not even any backstory to tell. Literally, the entire movie is them trying to preface this. And then for the next hour, they debate whether or not they're gonna go to Paris, even though we all know they're gonna go to Paris. And it ends with them like, wow, I guess that was my life purpose. I guess we were supposed to go to Paris on that trip. But I will say this, it did give me my favorite line of 2018.
My God is bigger than your statistics. So I don't really care what you have to say anymore.
Oh man. Give this woman an Oscar, Kevin Hart. There you have it. My least favorite movies of 2018. Once again, comment below. Let me know if you've seen this movie and if you agree with me in your strong dislike towards them. Tell me your least favorite movies. Tell me movies that should be on this list. Once again, let's just make this the most negative comment thread we have ever seen. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more content like this, and I will see you next time for my top 10 list of movies from 2018.